Just casting off. Whew. Ooh, a bit of shade. Lovely. It's been raining in Canada, here where I am on Loughborough Lake, solidly for 3 days. And you know, everyone knows what rain is, I guess, but boy, they can have really torrential rain here in Canada. And so it's the first day of nice weather for the last 3 days. So I wanted to get out on the lake in this little boat, this little fishing kayak, because it's just such a lovely thing. Oh, and I found some shade. That's nice. So, what I want to talk about today is, I want to talk about zombie systems. Now, I know it's a strange kind of word, right? Zombie systems. See, your brain does brilliantly at doing the same thing over and over again. Actually, I'm just going to, because I'm just stationary here by the coast, I'm just going to take this off for a moment or two. If I'm paddling, I have to have the life jacket on because it's the law and also it makes good sense. But I'm just sitting here right next to the coast, so the shoreline. Alright, zombie systems. Automatic systems are often called zombie systems in the brain because they do what they do without any conscious thought or input from you. And zombie systems are brilliant, but not all zombie systems are working together. You can have conflictual zombie systems. And when that happens, you can end up wanting to do one thing or wanting to do a different thing. So as an example, if a female stickleback fish swims into the territory of a male stickleback, the male stickleback instinctually exhibits aggressive behavior because it's a territorial violation. But because it's a female stickleback, the male stickleback also initiates mating behavior. So it's doing aggressive behavior and mating behavior at the same time. So it's actually quite confused. It's trying to do two instinctual drives at the same time and it doesn't know what's going on. Likewise, if you put a red egg in the nest of a herring gull, red elicits aggressive behavior in the herring gull, but the egg shape elicits nesting behavior in the herring gull. So what ends up happening is that the herring gull exhibits both aggressive behavior and nesting behavior instinctually at the same time. And fish, sort of sticklebacks and birds, do not have sufficient conscious flexibility to be able to choose which behavior to exhibit. They're just driven by instinctual drives. These are zombie systems. Instinctual drives that there is no choice over exhibiting them. As you know, I talk a lot about consciousness, and I think consciousness and mental flexibility go together in the sense that some animals might be on the continuum of consciousness. I don't think fish or birds are at all conscious because they don't have enough brain just to be able to do it. I mean, they're aware of stimuli, etc. But some animals have a lot more cortex, and so they have the potential to be a lot more conscious. And I think with consciousness comes mental flexibility. Well, the more conscious you are, the more mental flexibility you probably have. The more mental flexibility you probably have, the more conscious you are. So let's say that's how it works. Okay. So the story I've just told you about the male sticklebacks and the herring gulls, they have no mental flexibility and they have no consciousness. Therefore, they are instinctually driven to do what they do. That's a good example of zombie systems. And we have thousands of zombie systems. I say thousands, probably thousands, certainly many hundreds, that just regulate our life and we have no awareness of them. The trouble is, I think that zombie systems also are responsible for depression, because zombie systems work absolutely fine automatically, and they only come into consciousness when there's a disparity, when there's a difference between what the system should do and what the sort of reality or whatever is throwing at the system. So when there's a difference, then your consciousness kicks in to figure out what the difference is. Now, zombie systems work brilliantly. They work so brilliantly that you can slide into depression without even being aware of it. Let me explain how that is. Let's think about why it's hard to keep a secret. Now, there's quite a lot of research that shows that sharing a secret or sharing your experiences, and this could be a basis for lots of counseling around post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. Sharing a secret, not keeping stuff locked up inside, is good for you. James Pennebaker is quite a well-known psychologist, and he has done a lot of research showing that writing about your experiences, rather than keeping them inside, rather than just keeping them to yourself, results in many less visits to the doctor and much less emotional distress over time. Okay, so why is keeping a secret difficult, unpleasant, and probably not good for you? The reason is this. When you keep a secret, you're balancing a short-term goal, which will be to share a secret and therefore to experience relief, with a long-term aim of feeling that you need to keep a secret. So keeping a secret requires mental effort, and it creates an internal conflict. And internal conflicts in human beings typically are depressing. When you start your journey towards depression, some of the most negative beliefs you have about yourself are activated. Things like, I'm a failure, or I'm not good enough. Now, these things are personally negative, and they make you they make you feel ashamed, embarrassed, unhappy with who you are, and it often feels as if you're going to be exposed and the world is going to see your negative kind of characteristics. And so you tend to keep those secret. But that creates an additional conflict, because really we're better off sharing our inner world, in a sense, rather than letting it become magnified and distorted. So when you start to journey towards depression, not only are you activating these negative beliefs about yourself, but you're also keeping them secret. You're emotionally suppressing them or avoiding thinking about them. And all that does is to give them more energy. And really, it's about the most unhelpful thing that you could do. Okay, so let's have a think about how zombie systems contribute to depression. Zombie systems work perfectly as long as there is no disparity between what they do and the outcome. When you start to journey towards depression, you start to activate negative beliefs about yourself, but you believe these negative beliefs about yourself to be accurate. Therefore, they do not activate your consciousness. You just believe, in a sense, that you deserve to be depressed because of who you are. I feel a failure. I'm not good enough. Therefore, I feel down. It makes sense. And so your consciousness never gets activated to modify your journey towards depression. So, zombie systems work brilliantly to take you to depression, because you feel that you deserve to be depressed, or you deserve to be negative about yourself because of who you are, because of the negative beliefs you hold about yourself. And even if these negative beliefs are not actually true, if you believe them, and if you avoid thinking about them, and you suppress them, then the zombie systems will continue to do their thing. To combat depression, I think you need to do 4 things. The first one is this. You have to recognize, and you have to at least take some like ownership over the idea that you don't deserve to be depressed. You don't need to be depressed. Being depressed is not a logical consequence of who you are. You don't need to be depressed. Now I know that sounds simple, but all of this stuff is simple really. But our brain is not always our friend when it comes to managing our mental health. Okay, the first one is recognize, own, and take responsibility for this idea. You do not need to be depressed. The second one is you don't need to keep your feelings inside. It is good to share. It genuinely is good to share. There's tons of research that shows this. So share how you feel about yourself with someone, a friend or a partner, anybody. And if you don't have someone to share with, or if you don't have someone that you feel that you can share with, in a way that you want to do so, find a therapist, find a counselor, find someone online who does this kind of work. It's not necessarily expensive, but the cost of depression to you, to your family, to the world even, is phenomenal. So don't keep it a secret, don't suppress it, don't avoid it, share how you feel. Don't avoid the issue. Avoidance is the most common strategy for dealing with all mental health problems. And when you avoid the problem, you just simply push it down the line. Eventually, however, you will reach the end of the line, and that avoidance will have only magnified the problem. So don't avoid, don't suppress. Recognize depression or any mental health problem as a problem to solve. It's just a problem to solve. If your car had an engine problem, that is a problem to solve. In a sense, your brain has an engine problem if you're journeying towards depression or anxiety, and it's a problem to solve. And it's not embarrassing. I know it feels embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. It's not shaming. It's not anything other than a problem to solve. Now, we can add our emotions in and we can make it a lot more complex. But actually, it's not that complex. It's just a problem to solve. When you journey towards depression, you prioritize and feed attention to more negative beliefs about yourself. Now, you hold many, many beliefs about yourself. Remember when I said that keeping a secret is difficult because it creates an internal conflict between short-term goal of release of telling and long-term goal of the consequence of telling. Okay, well, you hold many beliefs about yourself. Not all of them are compatible with each other. You might, for instance, say, I feel like I'm a failure. Okay, but equally well, you're probably quite successful in many things. So these beliefs are incompatible. The only way you can tolerate this in depression is to focus more on the beliefs which are compatible with how you feel, like I am a failure or I'm not good enough. But all that does is it disempowers more useful beliefs. And if you think about it, if you were able to say, I feel not good enough, but I know that I am good enough, you have two equally, in a sense, valid belief systems. But when you journey towards depression, you give the less useful, the more negative belief system, you give it more space. Now that's a choice. It's a choice that you're making to have that experience. I know it's not a conscious choice, but we have to turn it into a conscious choice. You see, if you believe that you're not good enough, you prioritize that negative belief, you disempower the more positive beliefs, you're allowing the zombie system to give you what it always gives you, that is, a smooth ride. The zombie system will give you what it gives you if you don't challenge it. So if the male stickleback, for instance, could say, hello, female stickleback in my territory, do I need to be aggressive? Is that useful to me? Or might mating behavior be more useful to me? Well, I might say, well, mating behavior. Certainly, it's incompatible to have mating behavior and aggressive behavior. Likewise with the herring girl, right? You have mental flexibility if you exercise mental flexibility. You have choice if you exercise choice. If you don't exercise choice, then you don't have choice. You have the potential for choice. And that's the difference between you and a stickleback or a herring girl. You have the ability to exercise choice. They do not. So the main strategies for depression are to decide if you want to be depressed or not. Because if you don't want to be depressed, then don't prioritize belief systems, built-in belief systems that are negative to you. We have to bring our consciousness to it. We have to bring our mental flexibility to it. These are the only tools we have in the fight against mental health problems. The automatic process will give you what it gives you. We can use our awareness, our consciousness, our mental flexibility to enable us to have a better experience, but only if we activate it by telling the zombie system that this is wrong. I hope you find this interesting. Many millions of people around the world are depressed, and nobody actually, I say nobody, right? Probably nobody needs to be depressed, because depression is a massive distortion of reality. Why do I say that? Okay, well, many people who are depressed recover from depression and they feel different about themselves. Likewise, people who attempt suicide at the darkest, sort of deepest pit of despair, if they don't succeed, later on they're pleased that they didn't succeed and they feel better about themselves. What you believe and how you feel is mobile. It changes. It's not consistent. Now, I know it might feel consistent, but it's not. So, people with depression recover. What we want is for you to recover quicker and to not relapse. People with depression relapse because they don't adequately challenge the belief systems that cause the depression in the first instance. So, you believe many things about yourself. You can choose what to believe. You can believe more negative stuff, or you can believe more positive stuff. And that will determine which outcome you have. Irrespective of which outcome you choose, you are going to live your life, it is going to progress, and you're going to do the things that you do. My advice would be to have a better time rather than a poorer time. To have good mental health as opposed to poor mental health. To manage it, to take care of it. You would not plant a plant in your garden expecting to get some fruit from it and then neglect it. You would nurture it, you'd water it. Well, why not do that with your mental health? Why not nurture your mental health? Don't neglect it. Don't ignore it. Because that then leaves you open to the possibility of having poor mental health. And that spoils everything. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are, how materially successful you are, how good your relationships with people are, how likable and anything really. If your mental health is poor and if you're not looking after it, you're having a much less good experience than you need to have. I hope you find this interesting. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please visit me at drpurvis.online and join up for my newsletter, and so that you get notified when I put new videos out. So this is where I've been sort of hovering. Let me show you. So you can see I'm actually legitimately not wearing my life vest because I can stand up on the bottom. This is a lovely spot, and it's a lovely morning, especially after the rain. Interestingly, I think the lake's gone up probably 2 inches in water level, given all the torrential rain we've had. So I'll see you next time. You wouldn't plant a plant in your garden hoping to get some fruit from the plant and then neglect it. You wouldn't plant a plant in your garden. Your mental health requires at least the same amount of nurturing. I'm being bugged with a fly or a wasp. That's the thing about Canada. We've also got plenty of bugs. Feed.